On today's episode, I want to go through all 7 picks that Denver made in the draft and give you my rankings of my least favorite to my favorite, while factoring in where Denver got each player, because where you get them in all 7 rounds is really important based on how big of an investment you made into that guy. So we're going to check out all 7 picks Denver made and my rankings for them. So as a starting off point, let's go to number 7 with 4th round pick out of Alabama, outside linebacker Que Robinson. I've got him at number 7 because I feel that at round 4, sure, it's day 3, but it is still that fringe late day 2 type of player that can slip into day 3. It's a good player, or at least a good spot to get a good player. And I'll be honest, I just don't quite see it. Because the more I read about Q, the more I see that he's a really good special teamer. And I don't mind special teams in day 3 of the draft. But in round 4, when that's the calling card, I just am having a tough time, wrapping my head around it. He's a little bit of a tweener, and when it comes to his size, at sub 250 pounds, I don't think in a 3-4 defense he can play defensive end. So I think he's destined to be an outside linebacker. And Denver's outside linebacker core is in a really good spot. Robinson, 5 years at Alabama. He only started 5 games, all of which was in his senior year. He missed the last 4 or 5 games of the year with an elbow injury. But Robinson, I felt like at round 4 was a bit of a reach, whereas most people had him looked at as like a round 5 to 6 type of player. So I was still hopeful in round 4 you can find someone who could push to maybe see the field a little bit in, their first or second year. I don't see how Robinson sniffs the field unless an injury happens. Cooper and Bonito are cemented as your starting outside linebackers. Tillman and Ellis, I think, showed great flashes and strides last year. I like that foursome as a rotation. So I'm not getting a guy who I think has a real chance of, cracking the field or seeing the field. And his upside is special teams at round 4. Yeah, I'm going to put that at number 7 on my list right here. All right, moving on to number 6 now. This is just a reflection of, hey, when you go round 7, I'm not going to have a really early, ranking for you. It is the Utah football and basketball player Caleb Lohner, who played a lot of college basketball, started off at BYU, then he went to Baylor, then he went back to Utah to play for the Utes. He is 6'7", 256 pounds. This is Sean Payton in round 7 going, F it. It's the last round of the draft. I've got dinner reservations, Dane Cook, pay-per-view, 30 minutes. We're just going to take someone who might be my next Jimmy Graham, and if it doesn't work out, oh well, it's the 7th round of the draft. If it does work out, I'm a freaking genius. I don't think Lohner is a shoo-in to even make the roster. I think he is likely going to be a practice squad developmental pick for the next 2 years. And that's fine. The guy only had 4 grabs last year for the Utes. He just needs to learn more about the game of football, right? Like in terms of what it's like to play it at the highest level. So he's a practice squad guy in my eyes, which for round 7, I don't have an issue with that. So that's my number 6 pick for the Denver draft class. By the way, we're going to look at 5 through 1 in just a moment, but I was looking at the analytics for the month of May, and we've got a slight lead on the Chiefs report in likes. So if you haven't yet, click that thumbs up button down below today and for the rest of the month so we can take down the Kansas City Chiefs here at Chat Sports in likes for the month of May. At number 5, I'm going to go with the 6th round selection, and that is Jeremy Crawshaw. I could have moved him up a spot or 2 because he's Australian, which is super freaking cool, but I did not want to lose sight of, hey, despite him being an Aussie, and that's going to lead to some really cool sound clips, he is still a punter. Right now, I've got him as the backup for Matt Hack. I think he's the backup for the first day of OTAs and minicamp and training camp. I think by week 1, he's probably going to be your starter. He's got a really strong leg. He had some impressive punting stats for the Florida Gators last year. It's still a punter, but I feel like there is some sneaky good value if you can get a surefire thing at punter or kicker late in the draft. I mean, how many times have you debated with your friends sexual assault allegations for Justin Tucker? If he were to enter the draft, which round would he go in, like 9 to 8 years into his NFL career? I think you can make an argument that if Justin Tucker was to be redrafted in his draft class, he could be a first-round pick, right? When he was really, in his prime, were you going to find 32 players in that class who were absolutely a slam dunk better pick than him? So if Crawshaw is even just a B-plus punter for round 6, I don't mind it. Now, at number 4, I'm going to go with the Illinois wide receiver, Pat Bryant. He was a third-round pick, so a decent investment made in him, a top 100 selection, but he was not one of my top 3 favorite picks. 6'2", 204 pounds. So from a size perspective, he's got good length and he's got good body control to win a lot of contested catches. He's not quite as big as Courtland Sutton was coming out of SMU, but for the last 3 years, he started on that Fighting Illini offense, putting up nearly 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Ask yourself this. Has there ever been a moment when you've got the YouTube TV college football quad box on and you go, this Illinois offense is just an absolute air raid right now? Probably not. So if they've got a receiver with nearly 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, he is not a product of the system. He is the system. So I can get behind someone that had an incredible amount of production at a school that is not, designed to churn out a bunch of receiving yards and touchdowns for an offense that historically does not pass the ball super duper well. So I've got Bryant coming in at number 4 on my list because while there is still some good upside to like here, and I do think he could be a nice heir to Courtland Sutton, it still felt like a little bit of a reach to me. The speed's a concern. He ran over a 4.6 40-yard dash, so he's not going to separate super well. I do feel like he's better with the ball in his hands. The yards after catch is real with Bryant, but 4.6 speed, I feel like that does put a bit of a ceiling on you. And for being a third-round pick, I like for that ceiling not to be as low as it might be with Bryant. All right, before we look at my top 3 picks for Denver, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, which is Prize Picks. It is the best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. Every Tuesday, Prize Picks will discount several projections on the board, usually from 15 to 25%. They call it Taco Tuesday. Let me give you an example of what that looks like as we're filming right now during our live show on Tuesday. So, Donovan Mitchell, they put his points down a few notches. So I took the more on that bad boy right there, along with the more on Ovi at 0.5 goals, and the more on Zach Wheeler as well. So getting all of my sports fixes in. Get started today with Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. Run your game. Now, let's look at who I ranked 3, 2, and 1 for Denver's 7 picks. Coming in at number 3, I'm going to go with running back RJ Harvey. I was not very upbeat about this pick when it was made. I'm not going to try and hide away from that, right? But as time moves on from the draft, inevitably everyone starts to try and be more optimistic because there's no going back at this point, so you might as well have, a half glass full approach to the whole thing. But Harvey at 5'9", 208 pounds, he's not a big back, but he plays bigger than that. He's got some nastiness and some violence to his game. Now, I feel like he can, he can grow as a receiver. He had 20 grabs for 267 yards. There were times where he was kind of like grabbing at the ball, snatching at it, led to a couple of drops. I'm not going to say this is Sean Payton's next Alvin Kamara. I also just, as a group, want us to stop going with this is Sean Payton's next blank. And I know I've been guilty at that from time to time, but as a community, as a country, can we stop doing that? Because it gets a bit of an nauseating. This is not Sean Payton's next Alvin Kamara. This is RJ Harvey. This is a guy who played a lot of college football at UCF, who unfortunately suffered an injury early on in his career, but put together 2 really strong years the last 2 seasons for the Knights. And he's got plenty to like about his game. And I think he's going to have a very big role in this running back backfield, in this committee backfield, which I believe to be a committee, where they've got Estime in the goal line. They've got RJ Harvey on 1st and 2nd down, McLaughlin on 3rd down. And sure, after a year or two, they might place more on Harvey's plate. But for this year, I expect it to be a committee approach at that running back position. So I put Harvey at number 3 on my favorite picks for the draft. Coming in at number 2, I'm going to go with the LSU defensive end, Sai'vion Jones. This was someone that Denver liked so much, they traded back into round 3-4. So clearly the folks in the front office felt like this was someone that we could not risk not falling to us in round 4. So who is this LSU defensive end? Well, for starters, he's big. 6'5", 283 pounds. He's going to play 5 technique. He's going to play defensive end, but he can kick inside. I don't think he's going to be a nose tackle at 283, but you can use him in the B gap. You can line him up over tackles, between guards and tackles, right? You can have him at that John Franklin Myers role. I think he offers a lot of versatility. I think he can play across the board if needed. So I love that for a rookie to come in there and go, wherever you need me, I can play that spot. I'm not one-dimensional. Now, the production is why he was a late 3rd round pick. He started 2 years for the Tigers. Didn't really break out as much as folks in Baton Rouge would have hoped for in his final year, but he's got a really good athletic build to his body. And while the production may not pop out at you, in late round 3, I'm not really expecting to find guys with immense production. Those guys go early in the draft. So at that spot, I like the high upside type of player that you were getting in someone who can play across the defensive line, who's got good speed, height, weight, length, and I think can be someone that replaces John Franklin Myers and could start as early as 2026. By the end of this season, I think he could be a major piece of that rotation on the defensive line. And the Broncos go into the offseason going, hey, 2 of our 3 defensive linemen are free agents. But we feel so comfortable with Sai'vion Jones, we can let one go and then replace the other one with a younger, cheaper guy in Jones. And then the 3rd starter on our defensive line is over 30 years old. So we're getting some nice roots planted up front in the trenches for us. Someone who's a bit of a mold, who needs a little bit of fine-tuning, but that's what coaching's all about. Sean Payton and Vance Joseph, get after it. And then at number 1, I went chalk. I went with the Texas cornerback, the Jim Thorpe Award-winning corner, Jahdae Barron, the 20th overall pick in the NFL draft. I understand that could have gone for a little bit more of, a sexy or spicy or unexpected pick. But at the end of the day, for the 7 picks Denver made, who's most likely to have the best career? The guy who went first. And I think Barron is most likely to have the best career of this entire draft class. So I'm going to put him at number 1 in my rankings. Last year, 5 interceptions, 3 tackles for loss. He played all over that Texas secondary. He played nickel. He played outside. He played safety. He was a reliable team captain. He was someone that Texas knew that they could count on in the secondary, in the back end, not giving up a single touchdown in coverage. I like Barron a lot as a player. Coming out of Texas, there was a lot to get drawn to. I didn't think he'd even be there at 20. Everyone mocked him to the Dolphins at 13. They needed a corner. They were going to trade and still are going to trade Jalen Ramsey. Barron comes in with a ton of versatility. And I would love to have known what Denver's original plan was and how around pick 16, maybe 17, they go, guys, we were looking at players A, B, and C. We didn't count on Barron to be there. And there were phone calls made for Denver's pick. The Broncos go, we can't trade out of this anymore. This guy's available. We think he could be a Pro Bowler with Pat Surtain, and Patrick Mahomes' run of cruising through AFC West secondaries is done. It's over. PS2, Barron, Hufanga. This is John Taffer on the sideline going, shut it down for Mahomes, Herbert, and whoever the hell the Raiders toss out for the next decade. Now, some pros on Barron, just to get everyone, up to speed on him in a bite-sized form. He's got great fluidity and coverage, which I know that's kind of a cliche, but for corners, you don't want stiffness, right? You want guys that can wiggle. You want guys that can twist on a dime. High football IQ and instincts. You don't get 5 interceptions by just being at the right place at the right time 5 different times. No. You've got good vision, you read the quarterback, and you put yourself in a spot to be successful. You make your own luck. He's a playmaker. 3 career non-offensive touchdowns. Scoop and score, blocked punt, blocked field goal, pick 6 as well. This is a guy that just has a knack for, being at the right place at the right time and not by accident. And now for some cons, because I do want to, keep it kind of balanced a little bit here, because while I do like Barron a lot, he's not perfect. He's on the smaller end. He's below 6 foot. He's not going to have great length to probably hang out with some of the bigger receivers on the outside. Like if you, a few years ago, if you stuck him with Mike Williams from the Chargers, probably not a good recipe for success in the red zone. He's going to have, the receiver a few inches on him. So he played bigger than his size indicated, but that's definitely something to be, mindful of. I don't think he is a world-class, sprinter or track star. He's got good speed and he's probably got better quickness than speed. I don't know if he's going to necessarily thrive in a situation where you stick him outside against a tall, speedy guy and you have him go step for step 40 yards down the field. Probably not using his services to the best of its abilities. And that's where the vertical challenge comes in. So I like him inside for Denver long term. So those are my 7 favorite picks for the Broncos. Let me know who your favorite pick was in this draft. It's fun to kind of factor in what round you got him in, right? If you like the round 1 pick, but you love the 3rd round pick, then it's okay to flip-flop those 2 right there. So who is it? Let me know in the comment section below who your favorite draft pick was by the Paytons this year.